Welcome back to Superstar Glam. Today's video is a review on the Nars Summer Unrated Palette. I believe this is limited edition, but I did pick mine up during the Sephora VIB sale. Before I jump into that, if you haven't yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and click the little button down below, subscribe. Also click the little notification bell, that way you're alerted every time I upload a video. And if you're interested in this review and my final thoughts, then just keep watching. Okay, so let's not waste any time. Here is the palette that we're about to break into. I haven't even really swatched it, maybe for one or two shades. This is what it looks like, and then this is the inside. The shade names are in the back, so I'm going to try my best to mention which ones I'm going to be dipping into. To begin with, I'm going to take Laguna, and that's like a soft brown, and I'm going to start that off in the crease. We're starting off good, it's pigmented. Yeah, this is a really pretty warm brown. I can see this being like an everyday shade where you could just pop it on the crease, put some mascara on, and be done with the eye look. And if you're new here to my channel, then you wouldn't know this, but I usually start off with diving into the palette and not having any idea what look I'm going to create. So I guess the purpose for me in these videos are solely to try out as many shadows as possible and to give you a better idea of how they all perform. Okay, I'm going to take the shade Taj Mahal, and I'm going to take the same fluffy brush. I can tell you this, they're really pigmented, and there's really not much kickoff unless obviously you swirl it in the pan, but there's no need, because the minute you dip your brush, you're getting the pigment. So this is literally like me just tapping and picking up a lot of pigment. And oh, this is I swatched it and it didn't seem like it was shimmery. I would say it has a tiny bit of shimmer, maybe more satin than shimmer, but you can definitely tell it's subtle. I'm loving this smoky dark brown. It's a very cool tone brown. So I've been creating a lot of similar looks, so I guess the idea for me is to switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna take the shade called Tikahau. It's that really warm, rich brown. And I think I'm going to do a halo eye. I haven't done one in a minute, so that's what I'm going to try to do. So I'm going to start off by darkening the inner and the outer. I'm going to go back to that fluffy brush and just go over the edges, just to make sure everything is blended out and seamless. I want to add extra dimension, so I am going to take that shade called Fetish, that dark brown, cool tone brown. I'm just going to use this to just deepen this outer portion, and I'm literally just adding it right at the edge. And I'm going to go back to that brown just to go over, just to blend that out. I'm going to dip into that first shade, Laguna, in that fluffy brush, and I'm just going to go back to blend out that top. I'm going to add 3 different colors that I'm going to try to blend it all out on the lid. And the first one is this really pretty brown. It's called Komodo Island. So it's like a brown, but it's like a shimmery brown. And I'm going to kind of put it on top of those browns that we've been adding. I feel like I want to intensify it, so I'm going to take a setting spray and I'm going to wet my brush, and then I'm going to go back and deepen that brown. That's really pretty. Really pretty color. Has like a shift of gold. Definitely a really nice color, and it complements those browns that we laid underneath. And then now I'm going to go into the shade called Bad Intentions. And it's like that deep mauvey plummy shade. And I'm going to apply this right next to that brown. Still trying to leave the center open. So far the only fallout that I have encountered is with that shade, but it's not bad at all. Okay, now I'm going to take the one next to that, Summer Moon. Looks so pretty. Ooh. That's really nice. My brush has no problem picking it up. I do have to kind of wiggle it, but because I want it to be a little bit more intense, I'm going to wet the brush. This is so nice. This is what other palettes that I won't mention anymore because I'm not trying to be so negative. If you know, you know, but this is what I was expecting that to be. This one also has a little bit of fallout, but it cleans up nicely. There's another color in here that looks intense also, and that's the shade called Satisfy. And this is going to be such a pretty inner corner color, but I just want to add tiny bit in the center. I think this is definitely going to brighten. Oh, that's so pretty. I definitely want to re-intensify the outer and the inner. I'm just going over the edges. So right now I'm going to leave you with the swatches from this palette, and then I'll be back once I'm done with the rest of my face to finish up the lower portion of the eye. Okay, so I'm going to take Fetish, that dark brown, on a angled liner brush, and I'm just going to add it right here to the outer bottom lash line. Okay, then I'm going to take Tikehao, and this is like a small pencil brush, and I'm going to use this one to blend out that dark shade and just bringing it in about 3/4 of the way. Then I'm going to take Palmas, that light brown shade, and I'm going to bring it to the rest of the lower lash line. I'm going to go back to the angled liner brush, and I'm going to take the shade Palmero, which is that it's like a shimmery gold. I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm going to apply that to the inner corner right by the tear duct. That's pretty. It doesn't look like it'd be this color. It looks on the pan like it'd be like a lighter gold shade, but it's actually more like, to me it looks like more like a bronzy shade, which I feel like they nailed in terms of the shades that would be representative, at least for my opinion, on what summer shades would look like. And this shade would definitely look really, really nicely all over the lash line, like a bronze goddess look. I totally envision that. Now we're going back to Satisfy, and I'm going to wet it because this is what's going to go in the inner corner. I'm bringing just a tiny bit over the inner corner, not to go over that dark, just to give a little bit more definition to the inner. I'm just taking the same fluffy brush and blending that out. I'm taking that same fluffy brush and just bringing it to the bottom just to help blend that out, avoid any harsh lines. So this is the completed look with lashes. So I am obsessed with this look. I think that they've been doing this for a very long time. Therefore, I think that they're very respected in the makeup industry because they have very good quality products. Their bestseller, and this was back in when I started into makeup in the or in the late 90s, early 2000s. Nars Orgasm, the blush, was like the biggest thing, which says a lot about them because it still continues to be one of their best sellers. Just wanted to mention that it is one of the shades that they have included. I don't know if it's the only palette at this point that they've included. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they have included this color in another eyeshadow palette. I wouldn't doubt it, but I did want to say that this is one of the shadows that's in this palette. Overall, this palette is really good, really high quality. The mattes are very creamy and buttery and not a lot of kickoff. They blend out so nicely. And then the shimmers, you have different finishes when it comes to the shimmers, which I can appreciate them incorporating a lot of different versions of their shimmers. Some include like a really subtle, it almost looks satin, the shade right here called Crete. And then Satisfy is just one of those go-to inner corner highlights that just gives you bam intensity. It's almost what I always look for in a palette. I understand that I probably have a million of those shades, but I always appreciate it when they can include it in a palette because this can be a travel palette when you have that and this dark shade right here that can give you so much depth can give you so much depth because of its intensity without being like a black. So you're definitely going to find different finishes in the shimmers from least to most intensity. As I was playing with this eyeshadow, I definitely saw myself reaching for this palette just because of the colors. I think the color story is really, really nice. I think it's going to be one of those go-tos, especially in the summer. It has really nice, beautiful shades that definitely remind me of something I would wear in the summer. A wash of color, the warm shades, and just throwing it into the crease area for an easy look from day to night, definitely. And I think it definitely screams summer palette. So it was very fitting naming it Summer Unrated. I definitely recommend this palette. I definitely think that it's worth the money. I know it is a steep price, like $59, but you definitely get your money's worth in terms of the quality of this eyeshadow palette. And I think it's going to be one of those palettes that you definitely reach for a lot, especially if your go-to are warm shades, because this definitely has an array. And like I said, a lot of these shadows were definitely pigmented. And that's it. Those were my final thoughts on this palette. I really do love this palette. I really do recommend it. I do love the look that I created, and I definitely see myself reaching for this palette for sure. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you next time. Bye.